expanding the definition of learning and how learning curve thinks about expanding the definition of learning and why we would think why we feel the need for it. Just a quick announcement. We had our co-founders doing this session initially. Unfortunately, they had to attend to a family emergency. So me and my colleague Sirisha will be doing this. I'm Akshila, Head of Partnerships at Learning Curve, and Sirisha, she heads the curriculum, and we both will be taking you through our thinking for today. What we'll be doing through this session today, we'll talk about why there is a need to really expand the definition of learning, and then talk about SEL being a very critical pathway to achieving multiple SDGs. And then we would love to share our data from field where we want to show you how SEL is making a huge difference for us. And then also talk about how we can make SEL accessible to everybody, everywhere. Over to you, Sirisha.
Thank you, Akila. Well, I'm extremely delighted to be here with you all and absolutely honored to be part of this collaboration. So let's rock it, right? Let's start with this little story. Yeah, yesterday what happened was me, my daughter, and her baby brother were looking at some of his videos when he was around 18 months old, or I can rather say 18 months new. So this guy was pointing at a crow, and then he said, Mama, Tata. And actually, a crow is called kaki in a native language. But this guy was pointing it out and showing it and saying it, Mama, look, Tata, Tata, Tata. So he wouldn't pronounce, curve. Even in his kindergarten, he used to point at a crow and call it, Mama, look, throw. So it was actually very adorable at that time. Now, this guy is all grown up, is around 14 years new, and he would, talk unstoppable for hours on, features of the latest model smartphones. And believe me, it is not that adorable. Believe me, it is not. Now, I would like to know if there are any parents here in this session. You can please share your responses through the chat, if that's okay. Any parents here? Oh, all young people. That's fine. Akila?
New parent. That's what I was going to say.
Any other parents here?
Yes.
No. Yeah.
There are more. I think that's
yeah. Please do respond in the chat. Oh wow, Siddiq, yeah. Christina, yeah. Fantastic. Wow, Swapna, yeah. All right. Thanks for sharing your responses. Children are born with immense possibilities. Agree? Please do share your responses through the chat. Do you agree that children are born with immense possibilities? Okay. Please keep the responses. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, infinite possibilities, and they have this massive appetite to learn, isn't it? Little babies, Akila, you must have known your son is a little baby. In the first few months, they learn to speak, and nobody teaches them. And I'm sure you're not teaching him to learn, right? Isn't it? You don't. And you can't actually teach a baby to speak. It's far too complicated, and you wouldn't have that time, and they wouldn't have that patience. And it's not like that you sit with your child at 18 months and say, hey, look, buddy, we need to talk. Or more specifically, you need to. And this is how it's going to work. You probably notice your mother has been making all these noises in the past few months. Some of these are names of things. We call them nouns. And there are other noises we make. They are not names of things. They are names of things we do with things. They are called verbs. Did it work like this for any of you as a parent? Did you Make your child sit and say, this is a verb, this is a noun, this is how it is done. Please do share your responses. Do you remember, as a parent, did any of us, did we do this? I don't think it works like that. It doesn't, right? So kids absorb language through their skin. You nudge them, you correct them, they mimic you, but you don't teach them, right? And by the way, if they grow up in a home where there are around 5 to 6 languages spoken, they'll just learn all of these. And my son can speak 4 different languages, and I can't imagine them, teaching him all these languages. He just picked them up. So if children are born with immense natural capacities and have a tremendous appetite to learn, then why has education become the problem? Mull over this question. So what, according to you, is the purpose of education? Please share your responses through the chat. What, according to you, is the purpose of education? Values, okay. Srinivas, thanks. Navigate through the world, all right. Bring up excellency, empower, fantastic, fantastic. Awareness, knowledge, accomplishment, all right. Knowledge.
Shefali, are you traveling?
Sorry?
Hello?
Hanji, yeah? Okay.
I think somebody unmuted on by accident.
No problem. No problem. Yeah, to navigate the present. Right. Fantastic responses in there. So, so we all know that children love to learn, right? They probably also understand. Yeah, we'll stop taking responses to this question now. So I was saying children love to learn, and they probably also understand that school gives them an enormous advantage as they prepare themselves for college and for life beyond. So we might think of this idea of high quality education professionals and resources would be enough to get students excited about learning. Yet, this is not the case, isn't it? Most of the students of all ages, right from grade, kindergarten to grade 10, they dread coming to school. Why is it so? Why is it so really? Akila, next slide. Akila, can we move to the next? Yeah. So the educational system today, unfortunately, it does not teach the child. It teaches the child to test. I wouldn't agree more to this statement. Yeah, right. In the current fast-paced and competitive environment in which the individuals are attempting to succeed, they're also experiencing undue levels of stress, isn't it? So there's again a question for you, for all of us here to think. So in your opinion, are children stressed? And what might be the reason for the stress? The question, are children stressed? And if they are stressed, what might be the reason for the stress? Please share in the responses to the chat. Exams, yeah. Putting high expectations, yeah. Absolutely. So, yeah, please let the responses for expectations, competition, yeah. And failure, stress, yes, absolutely. Social perception, yeah. So all these are the factors which might stress a child, isn't it? Peer pressure, absolutely. So everything is a stress to a child. Stress of not knowing what to do. Yeah, absolutely. Comparison, yeah, oh my God, we don't talk about a comparison right now. Yeah, high expectations. Absolutely. All right. Thank you. Thank you everyone for these responses. So the stress apparently is, particularly among children and adolescents, as many feel pressure to perform well at school, as you were all suggesting, performance, comparison, all these are factors which can stress out children. And in general, also in their lives, pressure to excel in exams, as you all suggested, and assessments is prevalent in most education systems. And, it is a criteria to get ahead of the curve or to find the perfect job. Unless you ace well in an exam or you ace well in an assessment, you're not considered smart. You're not considered good enough, to face life challenges. And again, there are deadlines and interpersonal conflicts, which cause high levels of stress, even in classrooms, not leave the workplace, even in the classrooms. Students aren't students anymore, right? They are walking GPAs. Students aren't going to school with the goal of learning. They are going to school because that is what they must do to keep their grades up. Agree? If you agree with this, please give me a thumbs up. All right. All right. Thank you, Akila. Thank you, Swapna. As people, some of us don't agree with this. Is it so? anyways, let's move to the next slide, Akila. So what actually is the purpose of education? Like we were discussing, some of the responses which you had given to the earlier question. So is education system today actually fulfilling that purpose? Do you think so? Is it doing that? Okay, let's mull over this question again. Akila, next slide, please. So yeah, when you look at these stats, you might actually get worried. There is the statistics from World Health Organization, which states that in every 40 seconds, one person commits suicide. So, and then next slide, please. At school, 50% of all teachers suffer from burnout. Next slide, please, Akila. And then, 1 out of every 4 workplace professionals suffer from anxiety. So educational policies today, aren't they focused on fixing the education system that it assumes, because that equal opportunities for all children will enable them to access opportunities equally? When you look at the national education policy here, what does it say? Equal opportunities. But does that really work? Now think of this. A child who has not been able to sleep the whole night due to her alcoholic fathers, she's skirmishes and cannot possibly be expected to engage in the classroom, isn't it? When a child is stressed, she can't engage in a classroom in the same way or in the same manner as a child from a stable and healthy home environment. It is absolutely impossible for a child to do that, to engage actively in the classroom, isn't it? Next slide. So are we actually at a tipping point looking at the statistics we had just seen from World Health Organization? Are we actually at a tipping point with so much of crisis going on? Not even a single segment in the society is spared. The home, the school, the workplace, everybody are struggling. Next slide, please. Trillions of dollars have been invested in school infrastructure, pedagogy, technology, but still there is something which is missing. And what is that? Well, for a long time, people thought learning consisted of filling children's heads with knowledge, just the cognitive knowledge, the tables, the math, the alphabet. Now we understand that there is no aspect of learning that does not involve emotions. In fact, emotional component is the largest part. Next slide, Akila. Please don't leave. In fact, the emotional component, as I was saying, is the largest part. Let's see how, the emotions play a role and how SEL can make a difference in a child's learning. Let's see a video of this, please.
Just give me a second. I think there's an issue with the share. I'll just share the
win at work by communicating effectively. With Grammarly, meet Ty. He is emailing a difficult client.
I think we should explore a few solutions.
Grammarly ensures Ty's confidence comes through in his writing.
Thanks, Akila. It's all right. It's all right.
Yeah.
No problem. It's all right.
I have a chance to look at that video.
Yeah.
Take it from there.
Thank you, Akila. So let's do this again. Is there anyone in here who's scared of a cockroach? Scared of a cockroach? Anybody here? Yeah. Nishit Kumar ji, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Christina. Oh my God. Yeah, Swapna. Hey, it looks like everybody is scared of cockroaches. Yeah.
Sasha, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Akila.
Seem to be facing a small technical glitch. Give me a minute, guys.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, Akila. I'm right in here. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yeah, Akila is struggling, I guess. Anyways. Akila?
Akhila? Can you hear us? Sorry about that. I will. Shisha, have you reached out?
Yes, I'm on the phone talking to her. Just a moment, please. Just a moment.
Perfect. Sorry about this.
Yeah.
Sorry, just give us 2 minutes. Some audio related issues.
Yeah. Am I audible now, Akila? Can you hear me?
Yes, you are audible.
Akila? Oh God, Akila.
Sasha, can you maybe rejoin me? We are
Yeah,
not able to hear
I can hear
you.
you, Akila.
She's-
Yeah, sorry about this. Akila, can you please share the screen? Okay, let's continue and then, probably Akila might figure it out. Yeah, I was asking if anybody of us is afraid of cockroaches, and many of us said they are. Akila, is it okay now? Okay, chalo. Thanks for being patient, all of you. Now, well, I feel very anxious around mice. If I spot a mouse, everything else in the room, it stops. I just have a mouse and it is the only thing that matters until it disappears. The same thing happens with you, I guess, when you spot a cockroach, people who are afraid of cockroaches. Is it so? You just You just have the vision of the cockroach and nothing matters to you. Isn't it so? So this is the power of negative emotions. They just make you focus on only those things, right? Now, next slide, please. Now, as I said, there is no emotional component. The emotional component is the largest part. Learning is not possible without an emotional component attached to it. However, there is a distinction between negative and positive emotions. Negative emotions are what we were talking about, cockroaches, and in my example, the mouse instance. Now, what are these positive emotions? Let us have a look through, a theory which is called as Broaden and Bell theory. Positive emotions in terms of learning, they have been little studied until the 90s. And what we thought, and I guess even now, we think that if we feel positive, we aren't feeling bad, right? Now we know engaging positive emotions is one of the most vital components of learning. There is, as I said, this theory says that positive emotions broaden our thought and an action inventory. When we have positive emotions, we see the big picture, we can make connections, and it changes our thoughts. We are more creative, and all this builds our capacity to learn, to make more friends, to bounce back from things, to be resilient, etc. We used to think if people, as I said, they did well when they feel good. If they succeed, they feel good. Even now, many of us think like that. If somebody is successful, they might be feeling good. But we now know that if people feel good, they do well. It provides energy and persistence, drive to succeed. So we have to create positive climates in the classroom to create positive emotions like joy, pride, contentment, etc. Isn't it? Emotions play a critical role in influencing what we learn and how much we learn. Isn't it? Let me ask this question again. What is something you have learned, or you are at your best, or you excel at? Something, any skill you excel at. Please share your responses to the chat. A skill which you're very good. Listening. Wow. Okay. And what else? I can cook very well. That's what people say. So yeah, please let the responses coming in. Share a skill you think you're the best. Asha said listening. Creativity. Fantastic. Nitin. Yeah. Motivation. All right. Okay. Being faithful. Fantastic. A skill like painting, drawing, something like that. Yeah. Cooking, communication. Fantastic. Yeah. All right. All right. Let's pause there. And now you think, what made you excel at that skill? If you paint well, what made you excel, at painting well? Did you think about it? Let us take one or two responses. Interest, passion, very good. One more response, please. Love, yeah, seeing smiles, fantastic, super. Now, can you actually, separate an emotion and a skill? Just think of it. Somebody said they are good at painting, and because they love painting, they are excelling at it. Just remove the love, the emotion part of it. Can you excel at it? Just think about it. So emotions can both help us access memories as well as steer how we think. Yeah, probably not. You cannot actually separate a skill and an emotion. So even more importantly, emotions don't get in the way of learning. They are literally tied to our thoughts. When children make meaningful emotional connections to the content and the skills we are teaching, it leads to longer lasting and deeper learning. Isn't it so? Human brain for sure requires social relationships, emotional experiences, and cognitive opportunities as well. And the quality of these relationships, experiences, and opportunities, they influence how the brain develops and hence how a person thinks and feels. Isn't it so? The social emotional learning thus is an empirically verified, this verified strategy to improve skills of emotional regulation, social adaptation, and it also produces beneficial changes in the brain. Yes, it does. Next slide, please, Akila. So when you look at this slide, this is my favorite slide of the brain, wherein you have these three different parts in layman terms, these three different parts of the brain. This part is the brain stem, this part is the limbic system, and this is the cortex, prefrontal cortex, right? So unless you satisfy the questions of, say, the brain stem, which is saying, am I safe? Unless you satisfy the questions of the limbic system, which is asking, am I loved? The executive state or the prefrontal lobes, which is asking the question, what can I learn from this, will not be answered. Unless a child feels safe, unless a child feels loved, he cannot function. The arithmetic, the language, all this will not make sense unless these both questions are answered from the brain. So qualities such as patience, calmness, cooperation, kindness should really now best be regarded as skills that can be trained. They're not traits, that are irreversibly gained in our early environment or by genetics. These skills can be trained. But everything we know about the brain, including, coming down to gene expression, indicates that training like social and emotional learning can shape the brain, and literally it can change gene expression in the brain as such. I'll stop at this, and there is one message if I would like all of us to take back home, and an important message it is that social emotional learning, it changes the brain, period. Thank you, Akila. I'm handing over to you.
Thank you so much, Sirisha. I think that was pretty insightful in terms of how our brain works and establishing how SEL can change our brains. Moving from, I think, just building from there, if SEL is so powerful, is there really evidence around SEL where it's saying that it is really beneficial? And there is loads of evidence that's talking about how it helps children build their self-esteem, build pro-social behaviors, help them regulate their own stress and reduce that emotional stress. And ultimately, like we said, unless these are handled, their academic performance can't go up and they are not learning in reality. SEL does improve academic learning for children. And maybe touch upon how SEL can be used as a pathway to achieve multiple SDGs. First, taking the first and foremost education. I think it helps students, young students, be ready for school. It focuses on how children can regulate their emotions, how they follow instructions, how they socialize with others, because they have been just with the family, just with the mother for those first years. It helps them regulate all of these emotions when they're out there. So SEL actually helps children become school ready. In terms of youth, I'm sure most of us who have gone through any interview in life knows that as important as technical skill might be for an interview, it is always important that we are able to communicate, we are able to problem solve, we are able to make decisions, and people look if we are open for learning, if we are adaptable. And this is all what SEL does to children. It helps them build all of these skills that make them job ready as well. In terms of numeracy literacy, again, I think going back to that point where learning is not in parallel to emotional balance and social balance in children. So SEL helps in all of it, not just in attitudes, behaviors, and building these skills, but in making sure that children perform academically as well. And SEL promotes making school environments safe, equal, and inviting for them to be there, feel safe, and start learning. So that is how SEL becomes a critical pathway towards achieving education goal. In terms of health and well-being, I think it falls in the right bucket, where it gives us that protective factors where we learn how to manage this, so that those risks of falling into mental health issues is is preventive. Preventively, it keeps us ready for all of this. It helps us build safe environments for people to be in. It helps us decrease emotional stress, risky behavior. So it is almost it is very critical to have SEL in all environments, where it can keep the well-being and mental wellness on a check and make sure it is balanced for all of us. In terms of gender equality, I think it equips boys and girls in school to build empathy, to build respect towards each other, to understand how it is important to be equal in relationships, how can we solve problems non-violently, giving them all of these skills to express that gender equality and be equal in terms of gender. And I think that is how we can use the power of SEL to really achieve SDGs. So if this is so powerful, if this is so awesome, what really is the need for it? And how can we do it all? How can we do it all? And I think that is where we can share about our program. And I think this point, iterated n number of times, still doesn't lose value. Learning outcomes are not a standalone thing. They are influenced by multiple factors, at home, at school, at community. So it is very critical for us to work with all those influencing factors, and not just the academics, the numeracy literacy, but help child build all of these skill sets to handle all of these factors, so that learning happens in totality. What we see mostly is a lot of work in terms of numeracy literacy in early years, and a lot of work in later years, where we are focusing on making young adults job ready, building those skills of communication, adaptability at a late age. But there are those 6 to 15 years of very critical phase, where children are going through multiple milestones, and they are learning a lot of things. They are getting first-hand experiences of relationships, problems, solving it on their own. So I think this is the age which is totally underserved right now, and that is where the gap is, where something needs to be done very systematically and systemically, regularly, so that there is some effect to it. Can we see a blueprint of how this can be done? When we say systemic, we mean to say that it needs to support everybody in the system. Their teachers need to be supported with their development. There needs to be some curriculum, some set lesson plans that teachers can handle. The schools should be supported in terms of how to build this safe climate that we're talking about. Parents should be supported in terms of building that SEL environment at home. And all of this, when programmatically we are implementing, should be accessible and should be should be able to evaluate it to see how and what is working and what's not working. And we do have a program that can answer these questions, where we are saying, is such a program possible? Absolutely. So acSELerate, our flagship program, is a first-in-class systemic SEL program, where we talk about supporting teachers for their own self-development through workshops, through mentoring, through learning circles, multiple touch points where we are able to work on their self-development, where we are able to provide them age-specific curriculum. That is, just like maths is different for a grade 3 child versus a grade 5 versus a grade 7, SEL has to be different, and it has to be progressive. It has to build from where the child is and then build upon that. So that is how the curriculum is built. And this is research-based, research-backed, expert-reviewed, all of it, and practically implemented for more than 6 years. So we also have, we also support school leaders, where we provide policies and we discuss how they want to improve their school climate, work with them in bringing small activities, small things that can improve the school climate to make it more safe, equitable and welcoming for children, make it more engaging for children. We also work with parents, where we are engaging with them in terms of understanding, in building awareness for them as to why SEL is important for their child, how they can participate in all of this learning process, and what exactly is happening in school, how they can comprehend to that, how to make it full for them. So that's kind of how to make it a seamless journey for the child. That is what we work with parents. We do have a full suite of assessment tools, where these are multi-stakeholder. We don't just measure the outcome, but we are able to measure the process of and able to see what exactly is working for this program, and actually build on that, making sure we are increasing the good factors and working on what improvement areas. And I think that's what led us to, get this global recognition, where acSELerate program is one of the top 13 most impactful and scalable innovations in the world. And this, I think, comes from it being the only SEL program in India that works with all stakeholders. We having a 6 to 15 age curriculum. And these are all practical versions, which are like lesson plans, clear lesson plans, and clear teachables for teachers to use at schools, and clear assessments that help them help them understand the impact, help them figure out where something needs to be done and how something can be improved. I would love to take you all through a quick video, where we would love to share how all our stakeholders experience this. Not sure if this is getting shared, so give me a second. Yeah, I would like to quickly take you through some of the data from our field evidence report that we published recently. And I would love to take some of your email IDs if you were interested in getting more details about the program, about this report. So please ping us with your email ID so that we can capture and share this while I'm taking you through this data. So we were able to work with 40,000 plus students across 187 schools, and we've seen wonderful improvements in teacher SEL, where teachers are saying they are becoming better at handling their emotions, their high emotions, and they're building better relationships. They're open to new ideas, where children are building in understanding about emotions, building skills of better relationships, handling conflicts, negotiating in conflicts, and thinking critically and resolving issues, uh, building empathy towards each other. So I think these are wonderful skills that are getting built over years. This is some of the data that we are looking at. Schools have become safe places. Schools have improved in terms of how they can make this make their environments more participatory, how to build relationships that are long lasting and not just for that 1 year or 2 years that the child is in their classroom. And this is the data that we are seeing. And parents, we started engaging with parents more and more through COVID, and that is where parents have started reporting that they have seen behavioral changes in their children once they started using these tools at home as well. And how they have seen that children are starting to self-appreciate, children are able to better manage their emotions, children are expressing their thoughts clearly. So wonderful reports. But these all look very standalone. Do things flow from one thing to each other? When we keep saying systemic, but is it all so and together well? Absolutely. And I think acSELerate program has proven that very well, where we are seeing that SEL instruction and how teachers are engaging in classroom is gone up. The way they are engaging, the way they are using tools to engage, the way they are using their skills to engage, and how they're moving away from being a teacher to a facilitator in the classroom, how they're using these SEL practices in maths and science and social classrooms and not just in that particular period. And we have also seen wonderful correlation between teacher SEL and student SEL. So in classrooms where we have seen increase in teachers' own SEL, we have seen increase in students' SEL as well. So I think those are all brilliant news for us, where we understand that it is impacting system. It is impacting system. And how do we take it to that next level, where we are saying school as a system we have affected? Now, how do we make it more accessible to everybody? How to work with the system? And that is where we feel that a replicable evidence-based program is important. Partnerships and funding are important, and working with policymakers is very important. And that is where we come in. How we have worked, we have started in 2018, where we said we'll work in one district, we'll demonstrate, we'll implement fully in one particular district, KGBVs schools, work fully, show the impact, and then move slowly, scale towards working with the full state, working with the policymakers at state level. And that is how we are currently working in 11 districts of KGBV schools. And we are working with the department, fully supported by them in terms of implementation, in terms of giving us teachers for workshops, making sure teachers are implementing in classrooms, and all of this is happening beautifully. So we are working towards making it to the complete state as well. And that is how we have moved from that systemic to the system point. I think COVID really affected all of us in different ways, but it showed us giving that SEL access to everybody is very valuable, and it validated our approach in terms of making it accessible and available for all children across the board. And that is where we see the importance of working with governments as well. How did we make it accessible? We went through YouTube, we went through direct reach. We went through governments so Gujarat government helped us reach through stories to 30,000 families. So, and then we went through postal services, we went through WhatsApp, and we went through IVRS. So we tried each and every method that we can make sure to make SEL available to home, and we learned through each channel what works best where. So, and that has been that. From all of this learning, what do we want to do? We would love to impact 5 million children and adults by 2025 through using SEL as an approach. And this is, I think, this session where we are expanding the definition of learning. It's an open invitation to partners, be it governments, be it nonprofits, or any CSRs, whoever is going through this. We would love to partner to understand if we can become knowledge partners, or we can support in some implementation, or even build some knowledge around SEL or research. We are in love with SEL, and we would love to partner with anybody who's interested in SEL space for multiple things. Thank you everyone for your patience. If there are any questions, or if you want to reach out to us, here's my my email ID. Please ping us with your email ID so that we can share some of these program related information with all of you. Thank you. And if you can all give us one more minute and say, what was one small take home message in the chat, we would love to capture all of it. And with that, we are towards the end of the session. Great. Thank you so much. Thank you. I can see a lot of email IDs coming in. Thank you so much. Please do share your learning, your quick, something that struck your mind, something that made you think from this session. Please feel free to share in the chat. Thank you, everyone.